In the grand halls of the Psion Palace, where the walls shimmered like liquid starlight and the air hummed with unspoken thoughts, Princess Vira glided through the crowd like a vision from another world. Her white hair cascaded down her back in silky waves, framing a face of ethereal beauty, pale skin, glowing softly under the ambient lights, pointed ears peeking delicately through her tresses like secrets waiting to be whispered. She wore a gown that hugged her curvaceous form, its fabric a blend of iridescent silk and advanced tech weave that shifted colors with her mood, now a deep sapphire that hinted at the mysteries swirling in her mind. As the heir to the throne of Psion, a world renowned for its psychic prowess, Vira was no stranger to the ebb and flow of minds around her. She could sense desires, fears and futures, weaving through them like threads in a vast tapestry. The gathering was a diplomatic summit, a rare convergence of species from across the galaxy. Ambassadors from scaled reptilians of Zerathia mingled with the feathered envoys of Luminar, their thoughts buzzing like static in Vira's awareness. But amid the chaos, one mind stood out, clear and unyielding, like a beacon cutting through fog. It belonged to Marcus Hale, a human scientist from Earth, his thoughts a whirlwind of equations and hypotheses about dark energy. He was unassuming in his Earth Federation uniform, tall, with tousled dark hair, sharp green eyes that scanned the room with quiet curiosity, and a build honed from years of fieldwork rather than combat. Marcus had come to Psion seeking collaboration on his research, oblivious to the psychic undercurrents that defined this world. Vira paused, her heart skipping in a way it never had before. She extended her senses, brushing against his mind gently, like a lover's first touch. What she found wasn't just intellect, it was a resilience, a spark of humanity that burned brighter than any psychic flame she'd encountered. Images flashed, visions of him unraveling cosmic puzzles, standing firm against interstellar storms, his spirit unbroken by the vastness of space. And then, deeper, a prophecy stirred within her, one whispered by the ancient oracles of Psion, a union that would bind worlds and avert catastrophe. "That's him," she murmured to her closest confidantes, a trio of elegant attendants with similar elfin features, their eyes widening in surprise. "That's my husband. He just doesn't know it yet." The words hung in the air, bold and unapologetic, drawing giggles and raised brows from her friends. But Vira's gaze remained locked on Marcus as he adjusted his data pad, completely unaware of the royal declaration that had just sealed his fate. In that moment, the galaxy felt smaller, more intimate, as if the stars themselves conspired to draw them together. Little did Marcus know, this chance encounter in a palace of minds would thrust him into a whirlwind of psychic intrigue, forbidden desires and a battle for the soul of the universe itself. Marcus felt a strange prickle at the back of his neck, as if someone were watching him not with eyes, but with something deeper. He shook it off, attributing it to the alien atmosphere. Psion's air was thick with ions that enhanced telepathic abilities, or so the briefings had said. He was here for science, not superstition. His research on dark energy could revolutionize faster than light travel, and the Psion's psychic tech might hold the key to stabilizing it. As he moved through the crowd, exchanging polite nods with bizarre delegates, a tentacled being from Xandor offered a slimy handshake. He couldn't shake the feeling of being selected. Across the room, Vira's pulse quickened. She had always been destined for a political marriage, a union to strengthen alliances. But this was different. The prophecy wasn't just words, it was a living force in her blood, urging her forward. She imagined his hands strong, calloused from tinkering with quantum devices tracing the curves of her body, his human warmth melting the cool reserve of her psychic heritage. It was intoxicating, this pull, a blend of fate and forbidden longing that made her cheeks flush beneath her pale skin. As the summit progressed, speeches droned on about interstellar peace, but Vira's mind wandered to him. She sent a subtle psychic probe, not to invade, but to taste his essence. Marcus jolted slightly, spilling a drop of his synthetic wine. "What the?" he muttered, rubbing his temple. Their eyes met for the first time across the hall, her violet gaze piercing his with an intensity that made his breath catch. She smiled, a curve of lips that promised secrets and adventures beyond the stars. He approached, drawn by an inexplicable curiosity. "Princess Vira, I presume," Marcus said, his voice steady despite the flutter in his chest. Up close, she was even more striking, her pointed ears adorned with tiny jewels that caught the light, her gown clinging in ways that highlighted her graceful, alluring form. "I'm Dr. Marcus Hale from Earth. Your world's psychic fields are fascinating. They could amplify my dark energy models exponentially." Vira's laughter was like chimes in the wind, light and melodic. "Dr. Hale, your mind is a symphony of wonders. But tell me, do humans believe in destiny? Or do you chase only what you can measure?" He chuckled, intrigued by her directness. "A bit of both, I suppose. Science is my compass, but the universe has a way of surprising us." If only he knew how right he was. As they talked, Vira wove subtle threads of influence, not manipulating, but enhancing the connection. She shared glimpses of Psion's history, the ancient seers who foresaw galactic wars, the psychic bonds that linked lovers across light years. Marcus found himself opening up, describing Earth's turbulent past, humanity's unyielding drive to explore despite frailty. "We're not the strongest or the fastest," he admitted, "but we adapt. We endure." Her hand brushed his arm, a spark jumping between them, literal, from the ionic air, but metaphorical too. "Endurance," she echoed, her voice husky with unspoken promise. "That's what draws me to you, Marcus. In a galaxy of fleeting thoughts, yours burns eternal." The evening wore on, filled with stolen glances and deepening conversation. Vira's attendants whispered among themselves, amused by their princess's boldness. But beneath the flirtation lay something profound, the awakening of an ancient entity, stirred by the convergence of minds. Far below the palace, in the crystalline depths of Psion, shadows stirred a primordial force, long dormant, sensing the prophecies' fulfillment. Marcus retired to his guest quarters that night, his mind racing with possibilities. The princess was enigmatic, beautiful in a way that transcended species, her presence lingering like a sweet perfume. He dreamed of stars aligning, of her white hair tangled in his fingers, her body pressed against his in zero gravity. But dreams turned restless, visions of a dark void encroaching, threatening to swallow everything. Meanwhile, Vira consulted the oracles in secret. The crystal chamber glowed as she delved into the prophecy: "The human of unbound intellect shall wed the seer of stars, forging a weapon against the Devourer." The Devourer, an ancient entity of pure entropy, feeder on psychic energy, prophesied to awaken soon. Her claim on Marcus wasn't whim, it was necessity wrapped in desire. As dawn broke over Psion's twin moons, Vira resolved to pursue him, to make him see their shared fate. But the galaxy was vast, and dangers loomed. Little did they know, the first tremors of the awakening had begun, subtle psychic disturbances rippling through the palace like whispers of doom. Marcus awoke to an urgent summons. Alarms blared softly, a psychic hum alerting all to an anomaly. In the research labs, his dark energy detector spiked wildly. "This can't be right," he murmured, scrambling to analyze the data. Vira appeared at his side, her gown now a practical yet alluring jumpsuit that accentuated her figure. "It's starting," she said, her voice laced with urgency and something warmer affection. Together, they delved into the readings, their minds brushing in ways that sent shivers down his spine. She explained the legend of the Devourer, a being from the universe's infancy that consumed thoughts to grow. Marcus, ever the skeptic, cross-referenced with his science, "Sounds like a quantum singularity feeding on neural fields. If we modulate the dark energy." Their collaboration sparked ideas, but also tension, a magnetic pull that made the air thick. As they worked late into the night, her hand lingered on his, her eyes promising more than alliance. "Marcus," she whispered, "the prophecy chose you for a reason. And I choose you too." He met her gaze, heart pounding. Humanity's grit meeting alien mystique, it was intoxicating. But as the anomaly grew, so did the stakes. The Devourer stirred, its influence seeping into dreams, twisting thoughts. Vira felt it first, a cold shadow in her mind, but Marcus's human resilience shielded him somewhat. "We fight it together," he said, pulling her close in a moment of bold impulse. Their lips met in a kiss that bridged worlds, soft, exploratory, igniting a fire that neither could deny. Her skin was cool silk against his warmth, her pointed ears sensitive to his touch. It was the beginning of something profound, a union that would test them both. As the kiss deepened, the palace shook gently, a harbinger of the storm to come. But in that embrace, hope flickered. Marcus, the unwitting husband, was about to become the hero of legends. As the kiss deepened, the gentle tremor of the palace seemed to echo the racing rhythm of their hearts, a subtle vibration that coursed through the floor and up their bodies like an electric current from the stars themselves. Marcus pulled Vira closer, his hands sliding down the curve of her back, feeling the subtle shift of her gown's fabric under his palms smooth, almost alive, as if it responded to his touch. Her lips parted against his, soft and yielding, tasting of something exotic, like the nectar of distant nebulae mixed with the faint salt of anticipation. She let out a small, breathless sigh, her pointed ears twitching slightly as his fingers brushed them, sending a shiver through her that he could feel reverberate in his own chest. The lab around them faded into irrelevance, the glowing consoles, the humming data streams, the faint psychic hum of Psion's core. All that existed was this moment, this unexpected fusion of human passion and alien grace. Vira's body pressed against him, her curves molding perfectly to his frame, her cool skin warming under his insistent exploration. She was a masterpiece of evolution, designed for a world where thoughts intertwined as intimately as bodies, and yet here she was, surrendering to the raw, unfiltered desire of a man from Earth. Marcus's mind raced. A whirlwind of scientific curiosity mingled with primal urge. He wondered briefly if this was some psychic influence, but the heat building between them felt too real, too grounded in the physical to be anything but mutual. She broke the kiss first, her violet eyes half-lidded, gleaming with a hunger that mirrored his own. "Marcus," she whispered, her voice a sultry melody that wrapped around his name like silk. "The prophecy speaks of unity, but this is more than words in ancient crystals. Feel it, the pull between us, like gravity drawing planets into orbit." He nodded, words failing him as he traced the line of her jaw with his thumb, feeling the delicate pulse beneath her pale skin. The air grew thicker, charged with an erotic tension that made every breath feel heavy, every glance a promise. Vira's hands roamed over his shoulders, her fingers deft and exploratory, unfastening the clasps of his uniform with a practiced ease that hinted at her royal confidence. The fabric parted, revealing the toned muscles beneath, earned from years of hauling equipment through zero-gravity labs and trekking across alien terrains. She trailed her nails lightly down his chest, eliciting a low groan from him that echoed in the quiet room. "You're so warm," she murmured, her breath hot against his ear, her pointed tip brushing his cheek in a way that sent sparks down his spine. "Humans burn like stars, fierce, unrelenting. On Psion, our connections are mental, but this your touch ignites something deeper." The palace shuddered again, this time more insistently, but neither pulled away. If anything, the impending danger heightened the intensity, turning their embrace into a defiant act against the encroaching shadow. Marcus lifted her effortlessly onto the edge of a console, her legs wrapping around his waist with a fluid grace that spoke of her agility. Her gown hiked up slightly, revealing the smooth expanse of her thighs, pale and inviting under the lab's soft lights. He kissed her neck, tasting the faint shimmer of her skin almost luminescent, as if stardust coursed through her veins. Vira arched into him, her white hair spilling over her shoulders like a cascade of moonlight, her body responding with a fervor that surprised even her. In the back of his mind, Marcus sensed the anomaly growing, his detectors beeped warnings, but he silenced them with a thought, his focus solely on her. This was AFY in its purest form, humanity's unyielding spirit, not just in battle, but in love, in the face of cosmic threats. He was no psychic, no royal heir, but in this moment, he felt invincible, his hands exploring the contours of her form, discovering sensitive spots that made her gasp, the base of her pointed ears, the dip of her collarbone, the curve where her hip met thigh. Vira's mind brushed his, not invasively, but like a lover's whisper, sharing flashes of sensation, the thrill of his strength, the novelty of his unshielded emotions. It amplified everything, turning touch into ecstasy, desire into a shared storm. She tugged at his remaining clothes, her movements urgent yet teasing, her eyes locked on his with a playful challenge. "Show me, Marcus," she urged, her voice laced with erotic command. "Show me why the stars chose a human to stand against the void." He obliged, his lips finding hers again as hands wandered freely, the heat between them building to a crescendo. The console beneath her vibrated with another tremor, but it only spurred them on, the suspense of the unknown weaving through their passion like a dark thread in a tapestry of light. What if the Devourer broke free now? What if this was their last moment? It made every caress more poignant, every sigh more profound. As they lost themselves in each other, Vira revealed more of the prophecy in hushed tones between kisses. The oracles saw you strong, innovative, the key to forging a weapon from dark energy and psychic will. Her fingers tangled in his hair, pulling him closer as she spoke, her body undulating against his in a rhythm that matched the pulsing alarms. But they didn't foresee this fire, this need that consumes me. Marcus's response was wordless, a deep kiss that conveyed his growing acceptance. He was a scientist, rational to a fault, but here, in her arms, logic bent to feeling. Her gown slipped further, exposing more of her alluring form curves that begged to be traced, skin that glowed faintly with an inner light. He marveled at her, this alien princess who had claimed him so boldly, and in turn, he claimed her back, his touches bold and assured, drawing moans that echoed softly in the room. The erotic dance continued, suspense building not just from their intimacy, but from the creeping dread outside. Psychic disturbances rippled through the palace corridors, attendants whispering of nightmares bleeding into reality. But inside the lab, it was a sanctuary of desire, where human resilience met alien mystique in a fusion that promised salvation or destruction. Vira's breath quickened as Marcus's hands ventured lower, exploring with a gentleness that belied his strength. She guided him, her psychic link sharing waves of pleasure that looped back, intensifying for both. It was intimate beyond physicality, a blending of souls that made the galaxy feel conquerable. More, she pleaded, her voice a husky plea, her legs tightening around him. He complied, the world narrowing to the sensation of her cool yet warming, ethereal yet tangible. The tremors grew frequent, the Devourer's influence seeping in like fog, but their connection acted as a shield, a beacon of light in the gathering dark. In this erotic suspense, Marcus began to understand, he wasn't just her husband in prophecy, he was her equal, her anchor. As passion crested towards something inevitable, a sharper quake rocked the palace, consoles sparking with overload. Vira clung to him, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and ecstasy. It's here, she gasped, but even then she didn't let go, their bodies entwined in defiance. The door hissed open suddenly, an attendant bursting in with urgent news. The Devourer had breached the lower levels, its entropy waves corrupting minds. But Marcus and Vira, still locked in their embrace, turned as one, ready to face it. Their union had sparked something new, a hybrid power, born of science and psyche, lust and lore. Yet the night was young and the true test loomed, suspense hanging like a veil over their newfound bond. The attendant's face was a mask of terror, her pointed ears flattened against her head as she gasped for breath, the psychic alarm blaring in everyone's minds like a siren from the void. Your Highness, Dr. Hale the Devourer, it's not just stirring. It's free. The lower vaults are collapsing into chaos, minds are unraveling like frayed threads. Marcus and Vira disentangled slowly, their bodies still humming with the afterglow of intimacy, but the fire in their eyes shifted from passion to resolve. Vira's gown readjusted itself with a soft whir of nanotechnology, clinging once more to her elegant form, while Marcus hastily refastened his uniform, his heart pounding not just from their encounter but from the adrenaline surging through him. The lab lights flickered ominously, casting long shadows that danced like specters on the walls, as if the Devourer itself was already probing the edges of reality. We have to move, Vira said, her voice steady despite the storm brewing in her violet eyes. She grabbed his hand, her cool fingers interlacing with his warm ones, and in that grip, Marcus felt a surge, a psychic link strengthening, amplifying his thoughts with hers. It was thrilling, this blend of human ingenuity and alien intuition, like plugging into a cosmic mainframe. But curiosity gnawed at him. What exactly was this entity? His scientific mind raced, piecing together fragments from their earlier discussions, the Devourer as a relic of creation, a hungry abyss that fed on consciousness, twisting order into entropy. They dashed through the corridors of the palace, the attendant trailing behind, her warnings tumbling out in frantic bursts. The once serene halls of Psion now pulsed with discord, courtiers clutched their heads, whispering of nightmares bleeding into waking life. One noble, a tall figure with shimmering scales from an allied world, collapsed against a wall, his eyes glazing over as dark visions consumed him. It's whispering, he muttered, promising oblivion. Vira's mind brushed Marcus's, sharing flashes of the prophecy. Ancient seers had bound the Devourer eons ago, using psychic anchors tied to Psion's core crystal. But now, with the entity's awakening, those anchors were fracturing. The oracles foresaw a savior from beyond our stars, she explained as they ran, her white hair whipping behind her like a banner in the wind. A mind unbound by our ways, capable of forging something new. That's you, Marcus. Your dark energy theories could stabilize the breach. He nodded, his breath coming in sharp bursts, thrilled by the weight of it all. Humanity had always been the underdog in the galaxy. Frail bodies, short lives, but their adaptability, their sheer audacity, turned weaknesses into weapons. As they descended into the lower levels via a spiraling grav lift, the air grew colder, thicker, laced with an unnatural static that made hairs stand on end. Surprising tremors shook the structure, not from physical quakes, but from psychic backlash. Marcus felt tendrils of doubt creeping into his thoughts, whispers questioning his worth, his place in this alien drama. But Vira's presence anchored him, her psychic shield enveloping them like a warm cloak. Fight it, she urged, squeezing his hand. Your human spirit, it's resilient, unyielding. That's what makes you perfect. The lift doors opened to pandemonium. The lower vaults, vast chambers housing Psion's psychic archives, crystalline spires pulsing with stored knowledge, were now a battlefield of shadows. The Devourer manifested not as a beast, but as a swirling vortex of inky blackness, tendrils of void snaking out to ensnare the guards. Psion warriors, clad in form-fitting armor that amplified their telekinetic abilities, hurled bolts of mental energy at the entity, but the attacks dissipated like smoke and wind. One warrior screamed as a tendril latched onto him, his form dissolving into wisps of fading light, his essence consumed. Marcus's eyes widened in dramatic horror, the scene unfolding like a nightmare from his wildest simulations. It's entropy incarnate, he realized aloud, his voice echoing over the chaos, feeding on structured thought, breaking down patterns into randomness. Curiosity burned alongside fear. How could science combat something so primordial? But then, in a thrilling surge of inspiration, he spotted the core crystal at the chamber's center, a massive, multifaceted gem thrumming with weakening light, the last anchor holding the Devourer at bay. We need to reinforce it, he shouted to Vira, dodging a lashing tendril that grazed his shoulder, sending a jolt of numbing cold through his arm. The pain was sharp, surprising, but it fueled his determination. Vira nodded, her face a portrait of fierce beauty amid the turmoil, pale skin flushed, pointed ears alert, her curvaceous form moving with lethal grace as she unleashed a psychic blast, repelling another assault. Together, they charged forward, the climax building like a storm cresting. Guards formed a perimeter around them, their minds linking in a desperate chorus to buy time. But the Devourer sensed their intent, its vortex expanding with a low, ominous rumble that vibrated through bones. Tendrils whipped wildly, one slamming into a cluster of warriors and scattering them like leaves. Marcus felt the entity's probe, curious, almost playful in its malevolence, testing his resolve with visions of failure. Earth abandoned, Vira lost to the void. No, he growled, shaking it off with sheer human stubbornness. Thrilling energy coursed through him as he reached the core crystal, Vira at his side. She placed her hands on the gem, channeling her psychic essence, the crystal glowing brighter under her touch. But it wasn't enough, cracks spiderwebbed across its surface, entropy seeping in. Marcus pulled out his portable datapad, interfacing it with the crystal's matrix, a risky fusion of Earth tech and alien artifact. Dark energy modulation, he explained breathlessly, fingers flying over holographic keys. If I invert the field, create a containment loop using your psychic waves as the catalyst. Vira's eyes met his, a spark of surprise and admiration flashing there. Do it. Our bond, use it. He did, syncing his device to her mind link. The connection deepened dramatically, their thoughts merging in a thrilling rush, her visions of cosmic harmony blending with his equations of quantum stability. The crystal hummed, power surging as Marcus initiated the sequence. But the Devourer roared a soundless psychic scream that buckled knees and launched a final massive assault. Tendrils converged, a black wave crashing toward them. In that heart-stopping moment, Vira threw herself protectively in front, her body a shield of glowing aura. Marcus, she cried, the word laced with love and sacrifice, but he pulled her back, surprising even himself with his speed. Together, he insisted, activating the loop just as the wave hit. The chamber erupted in light and shadow, a climactic clash that shook the foundations of Psion. The Devourer's form writhed, tendrils recoiling as the inverted field trapped it, compressing the void into a shrinking sphere. Guards cheered weakly, but Marcus and Vira collapsed against each other, exhausted yet triumphant. The entity wasn't destroyed, merely contained, its essence pulsing angrily within the reinforced crystal. Curiosity lingered. What secrets did it hold? Why had it awakened now? As the dust settled, Vira looked at him with wonder. You did it, the prophecy, it's unfolding. But in a surprising twist, the crystal flickered, revealing a hidden message etched in ancient script, a warning that the Devourer was but a harbinger, a piece of a greater darkness lurking in the galaxy's depths. Their victory was thrilling, but temporary, igniting a new curiosity. What else awaited them? Marcus kissed her forehead, the drama of the night forging them anew. Whatever comes, we'll face it. Humanity doesn't back down, and neither do I, with you by my side. The palace stabilized, but the thrill of the unknown pulsed on, a surprising revelation that their union was just the beginning of a larger saga. As the echo of their victory lingered in the vaulted chamber, the contained Devourer pulsing like a caged heartbeat within the reinforced crystal, Marcus held Vira close, his lips brushing her forehead in a gesture that felt both tender and triumphant. The guards around them began to stir, shaking off the psychic haze, their armor clinking softly as they regrouped with murmurs of awe and relief. But the air still crackled with residual energy, a dramatic undercurrent that made every shadow seem alive, every whisper a potential threat. Vira pulled back slightly, her violet eyes searching his, a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration painting her features, her white hair disheveled in a way that only heightened her ethereal allure, her pointed ears still flushed from the intensity of their merged minds. We've bought time, she said, her voice a soft caress amid the settling chaos, but the message in the crystal, it's a warning we can't ignore. A greater darkness, Marcus. Something that could unravel not just Psion, but the fabric of the galaxy. He nodded, his scientific curiosity igniting anew, but before he could dive into theories, a low rumble echoed from above, not the Devourer this time, but the palace's alert system blaring a new urgency. Holographic displays flickered to life around them, projecting frantic reports from the surface, diplomatic envoys in panic, alliances fracturing under the psychic aftershocks. One projection showed a reptilian ambassador from Zerathia slamming a clawed fist on a table, accusing Psion of unleashing an ancient curse. Drama escalated as accusations flew, whispers of betrayal, fears that the Devourer's breach was no accident. Vira's face paled further, her curvaceous form tensing under his arm. The summit, it's falling apart. If we don't address this now, wars could ignite across systems. She turned to him, a dramatic plea in her gaze. Come with me to the Grand Hall. As my intend, your presence could sway them. Show them humanity's strength. Marcus blinked, the word intended hitting him like a rogue asteroid. Intended? As in, husband-to-be? The prophecy's weight crashed down, mixing with the adrenaline still pumping through his veins. Wait, you mean officially? Like in front of everyone? Awkwardness bloomed in his chest, a human flush creeping up his neck. He was a lab rat from Earth, not some interstellar Prince Charming. The idea of parading their connection before a galaxy of judgmental aliens felt like stepping into a zero-gravity minefield, thrilling, but one wrong move and boom. She smiled faintly, a touch of humor glinting in her eyes despite the drama. Oh Marcus, your thoughts are broadcasting like a faulty comms array. Yes, officially, but think of it as an adventure. Besides, after what we just shared, a little public declaration shouldn't scare a man who tamed entropy itself. He chuckled nervously, rubbing the back of his neck as they hurried up the grav lift, guards flanking them like a royal entourage. Easy for you to say. On Earth, we have awkward family dinners, not galaxy-spanning prophecies. What if I trip over my words and start a war instead? Vira laughed, a melodic sound that cut through the tension, her hand squeezing his. Then I'll catch you. Humans are endearing in their clumsiness, it's part of your charm. The lift doors opened to the Grand Hall, now a whirlwind of heightened drama. Delegates shouted over each other, holographic maps flashing red with simulated battle lines. The reptilian from Zerathia spotted them first, his scales rattling in fury. Princess Vira? Your psychic folly has endangered us all. And who is this soft-skinned interloper? All eyes turned to Marcus, the room falling into a dramatic hush. He felt exposed, like a specimen under a microscope, his Earth uniform suddenly feeling as out of place as a swimsuit in a blizzard. Awkward silence stretched, broken only by a feathered envoy from Luminar tilting its head curiously. Vira stepped forward, her presence commanding, but she pulled Marcus with her, linking their arms in a bold display. "This is Dr. Marcus Hale of Earth," she announced, her voice ringing with authority and a hint of possessive pride. "The one foretold in our oracles, the unbound mind who contained the Devourer. And my betrothed." Gasps rippled through the crowd, a mix of shock and intrigue. Marcus's stomach flipped. Betrothed. They hadn't even had a proper date. He cleared his throat, trying to project confidence, but his voice came out a tad higher than intended. Hi everyone. Yeah, that was me down there. Science meets psyche, boom, entity contained. No big deal." He winced internally at how casual it sounded, like describing a lab experiment gone right. A little humor to lighten the mood, he thought, but the reptilian's glare suggested otherwise. One delegate, a blob-like being from Velquar, bubbled in amusement, or was it indignation? Betrothed. To a human? Their species still argues over basic quantum ethics. This is preposterous. Vira's eyes flashed, drama heightening as she defended him. Preposterous? Humans have survived death worlds, outwitted AI uprisings, and now, tamed an ancient void. Marcus didn't just save Psion, he saved us all. She turned to him, her touch on his arm sending a warm spark, reminding him of their earlier intimacy amid the chaos. But the awkwardness peaked when the feathered envoy approached, its beak clicking curiously. Prove this union's worth. A demonstration, perhaps a psychic meld for all to witness. Marcus's eyes widened. A public mind merge. In front of these strangers, he imagined sharing thoughts intimate, vulnerable ones from their lab encounter, broadcast like a galactic reality show. Whoa, hold on. I'm all for unity, but that's like asking me to dance naked on an asteroid. Can't we just shake hands or something? Vira stifled a giggle, her pointed ears twitching in mirth, but the drama pressed on. The reptilian ambassador seized the moment. See? Hesitation. This is no savior, merely a charlatan entangled in royal whims. The hall erupted anew, accusations flying like laser fire. Marcus felt the pressure build, his human ingenuity kicking in. With a dash of humor to diffuse, he raised his hands. Okay, let's not get our tentacles in a twist. I'm no charlatan, I'm a scientist. Let me show you. He pulled up his data pad, projecting a holographic replay of the vault battle, the Devourer's assault, their merged counterattack, the containment loop glowing triumphantly. The crowd leaned in, murmurs turning from doubt to fascination. But in a twist of awkward fate, the hologram glitched, perhaps from residual entropy, and zoomed in on their post-battle embrace, the kiss on the forehead lingering a beat too long. Snickers erupted. The blob bubbled louder, and even the reptilian's scales softened with reluctant amusement. Vira's cheeks flushed a rare pink, her curvaceous form shifting uncomfortably, but she leaned into it with grace. "Well, that's one way to prove our bond," she whispered to Marcus, "you and your tech always full of surprises." He grinned sheepishly, the humor breaking the tension. Hey, at least it wasn't the full lab footage. That would have really started a war. As laughter rippled through the hall, the drama shifted toward resolution. Delegates began nodding, alliances mending under the weight of evidence. But beneath it all, a new undercurrent stirred the crystal's warning of greater darkness. Whispers from attendants hinted at scouts, detecting anomalous signals from Netheria's borders, shadows that echoed the Devourer's hunger. Vira pulled Marcus aside during a brief recess, the awkward public moment still hanging between them like a shared secret. "You handled that brilliantly," she said, her voice low and intimate, her body close enough for him to feel her warmth. "But the real test is coming. Those signals, they suggest the Devourer was a scout, part of a swarm." Drama heightened as alarms blared again, not palace-wide, but a private comm to Vira's earpiece. Her expression darkened. "My council demands a formal bonding ceremony. Tonight, to solidify the prophecy before the greater threat arrives." Marcus's heart raced, awkwardness mingling with excitement. A ceremony? With rituals he couldn't even pronounce. "Tonight? I haven't even met your parents or whatever Psions have for family. What if I mess up the vows and accidentally declare war on a moon?" She laughed again, pulling him into a quick, stolen kiss that reignited the spark from before. "You'll be fine. Humans adapt, remember? And besides, the ceremony involves sharing essences. Think of it as an extension of our lab time, but with an audience." His eyes widened comically. "Audience? Okay, now that's awkward on a cosmic scale." As they prepared, humor laced the drama. Marcus, fumbling with ceremonial robes, that kept shifting colors to match his flustered mood, Vira teasing him about human customs like bachelor parties. But the stakes loomed. Scouts reported void rifts opening, entities similar to the Devourer massing. The ceremony wasn't just romantic, it was strategic, a ritual to amplify their bond into a galactic shield. In the ceremonial chamber, lit by floating orbs that hummed like distant stars, delegates gathered once more. Marcus stood at the altar, Vira approaching in a gown that accentuated every curve, her white hair adorned with glowing jewels. The awkwardness peaked as the officiant intoned ancient words, requiring them to link minds, publicly sharing visions of their union, edited for propriety, of course. But as the link formed, a surprising surge hit not just their thoughts, but a flood of prophetic glimpses, swarms of void beings descending, alliances crumbling, yet humanity rising as the unexpected heroes. The audience gasped, drama reaching fever pitch. Marcus whispered to Vira amid the visions, adding a touch of humor, "If this is marriage, sign me up. Just promise no in-laws from the void." She smiled, their bond strengthening, ready for the storm ahead. Yet as the ceremony climaxed, a rift tore open in the chambers, sealing a preview of the greater darkness, tendrils snaking in with hungry intent. Chaos erupted, but Marcus and Vira, now truly united, faced it head-on, their laughter in the face of doom a testament to HFY spirit. Chaos erupted in the ceremonial chamber, the rift tearing wider like a wound in the fabric of reality, spewing forth writhing tendrils of shadow that lashed out with hungry intent, seeking to devour the fragile bonds of alliance forged just moments before. Marcus and Vira stood at the heart of it, their laughter a defiant spark of human spirit amid the doom, fading into focused determination as they turned as one to face the intrusion. The delegates scattered in panic, holographic orbs shattering like fragile dreams, but Vira's psychic aura flared brighter, a luminous shield enveloping them both. Marcus, drawing on their newly strengthened link, channeled his ingenuity through her power. He visualized the dark energy equations from earlier, twisting them into a temporary seal. "Focus on the crystal's resonance," he urged, his voice steady over the howling void. Together, they projected a burst of unified, will her psychic grace weaving with his scientific precision, and the rift shuddered, contracting like a beast recoiling from light. The tendrils retreated, the tear mending just enough to hold, leaving the chamber in stunned silence, the air thick with the scent of ozone and lingering fear. But the victory was fleeting, a mere bandage on a deeper gash. Vira's counselors rushed forward, their faces etched with urgency, insisting the bonding ceremony be completed in full, to consummate the union and amplify the prophetic bond before the swarm descended in earnest. "The ritual demands it," one elder whispered, her pointed ears drooping with exhaustion. "Only through complete merging can the shield endure." Marcus felt a flush of heat rise in him, the awkward humor from earlier giving way to a more intimate anticipation. The greater darkness loomed, but in this moment, the path forward led them to seclusion, a private sanctum within the palace where the stars themselves seemed to watch. Vira led him away from the chaos, her hand in his a lifeline through the winding corridors, her white hair swaying like a comet's tail. The drama of the rift had heightened everything, their touches electric, their glances charged with unspoken promises. "The ceremony isn't just words and visions," she explained softly as they entered a hidden chamber, its walls aglow with bioluminescent vines that pulsed in rhythm with their heartbeats. The room was a haven of sensuality, designed for royal unions, a vast bed draped in silken fabrics that shifted colors like auroras, floating lanterns casting warm, inviting shadows, and a faint melody of ancient Psion harmonies filling the air. "It's about blending essences, body, mind, and soul, to strengthen us against what's coming." Marcus swallowed, his pulse quickening as the door sealed behind them, shutting out the galaxy's turmoil. He was no stranger to passion, but this felt profound, laced with the weight of destiny. Vira turned to him, her violet eyes shimmering with a mix of vulnerability and desire, her curvaceous form accentuated by the ceremonial gown that clung like a second skin. "Are you ready, my intended?" she asked, her voice a gentle caress, stepping closer until their bodies nearly touched. He nodded, drawing her into his arms, the awkwardness dissolving into a natural flow. Their lips met again, softer this time, exploratory, building on the fire from the lab but deepened by the ritual's sanctity. Marcus's hands traced the elegant lines of her back, feeling the subtle ridges where her pointed ears met her neck's sensitive spots that made her sigh against him, her cool skin warming under his touch. She responded in kind, her fingers unfastening his robes with deliberate care, revealing the strong contours of his chest, earned from Earth's rugged explorations. The contrast thrilled her, the warmth of his human form against her ethereal grace, a fusion that mirrored their worlds. As they moved toward the bed, the vines above seemed to respond, dimming the lights to an intimate glow, enhancing the sense of seclusion. Vira's gown slipped away like mist, unveiling her pale, luminous skin, her body a vision of allure with gentle curves that invited exploration. Marcus marveled at her, his breath catching. She was beauty incarnate. Her pointed ears adorned with faint jewels that caught the light, her white hair spilling over her shoulders like fresh snow. He pulled her down with him, their bodies entwining on the silken sheets, the fabric molding to them like a lover's embrace. Their connection deepened, minds brushing in tandem with physical caresses. Vira's psychic link shared waves of sensation, his strength, her fluidity amplifying every touch into something transcendent. He kissed her neck, trailing lower, eliciting soft sounds of pleasure that echoed in his thoughts, her hands guiding him with tender urgency. The ritual's essence flowed through them, a warm current that heightened awareness, making each moment feel eternal. Marcus explored her with reverence, his lips and fingers discovering the secrets of her form, the dip of her waist, the swell of her hips drawing responses that made her arch into him, her breath quickening. She reciprocated, her touch light yet insistent, tracing the lines of his muscles, feeling the steady beat of his heart. "You're so alive," she murmured, her voice husky with emotion, as she shifted above him, their bodies aligning in a dance as old as the stars. The merging was gentle at first, a slow union that built layers of intimacy, their movements synchronized by the psychic bond. Sensations cascaded, warmth enveloping coolness, strength yielding to grace, creating a harmony that pulsed with life. Vira's eyes locked on his, sharing visions of their shared future amid the pleasure, the prophecy weaving through their ecstasy like threads of light. Time blurred as they lost themselves in each other, the act a celebration of unity rather than mere desire. Peaks of intensity rose and fell, waves crashing in shared release, their cries muffled in kisses that sealed the bond. Marcus felt her essence intertwine with his psychic sparks, igniting human fire, forging a resilience that would stand against any void. In those moments, the galaxy's threats faded, replaced by the profound connection of two souls bridging worlds. As they lay entwined afterward, bodies glistening under the soft glow, Vira nestled against him, her head on his chest, listening to the rhythm that grounded her. "This is the true power of the prophecy," she whispered, her fingers tracing lazy patterns on his skin. "Not just to fight, but to create something unbreakable." Marcus smiled, pulling her closer, the afterglow a shield against the encroaching dark. But even in this sanctuary, subtle tremors reminded them of the swarm's approach, whispers in the vines, faint shadows at the edges of perception. Their union had amplified the shield, but the greater darkness hungered still. Vira sat up slightly, her curvaceous silhouette framed by the aurora sheets, a determined spark in her eyes. "We must prepare. The ritual is complete, but the battle calls." Marcus nodded, rising with her, the intimacy fueling his resolve. They dressed in practical attire, hers a fitted suit that hugged her form, his a reinforced uniform ready to face the council once more. Yet as they stepped toward the door, a new psychic pulse hit them, a vision shared through their bond, swarms of void entities converging on Psion, drawn by the Devourer's call. The drama outside had escalated, scouts reported rifts opening across the system, alliances teetering on the brink. But now, with their essences merged, Marcus felt a surge of power, human adaptability fused with Psion insight, a weapon honed in passion. Vira kissed him once more, soft and lingering, before they emerged. "Together, we redefine destiny." The chamber doors opened to waiting attendants, their faces a mix of relief and awe at the palpable aura surrounding the pair. The palace buzzed with renewed energy, delegates regrouping under the strengthened shield. But the true test loomed, the swarm's advance a ticking clock. Marcus and Vira moved to the command center, hands linked, their bond a beacon in the storm. Strategies unfolded, combining Earth tech with Psion psyche, but underlying it all was the intimate foundation they'd built, a reminder that love, in all its forms, was humanity's greatest strength. As plans solidified, a subtle humor returned. Marcus quipped about honeymoon interruptions from cosmic horrors, drawing a laugh from Vira that lightened the mood. Yet the intimacy lingered, a private fire fueling their fight. As plans solidified in the command center, Marcus's quip about honeymoon interruptions still hung in the air, eliciting another soft chuckle from Vira that danced like starlight through the tension-filled room. The counselors around them exchanged knowing glances, their pointed ears perking up at the human's irreverent humor, a reminder that even in the face of impending doom, life's lighter moments could forge unbreakable resolve. Vira leaned against the holographic strategy table, her curvaceous silhouette outlined by the glowing projections of void rifts, spreading like cracks in a cosmic mirror, her white hair catching the blue hues of the display. She reached out, her fingers brushing Marcus's in a subtle gesture that reignited the intimate spark between them, a private flame that warmed the cold calculations of war. "All right, let's run through this one more time," Marcus said, his voice steady as he manipulated the holo interface with practiced ease, integrating his dark energy models with Psion's psychic arrays. The plan was bold: deploy a network of amplified crystals across the system, each tuned to their merged bond, creating a galactic web to ensnare the swarm before it overwhelmed Psion's defenses. Delegates from allied worlds nodded approvingly, the reptilian from Zerathia offering a grudging rumble of respect, the feathered envoy from Luminar chirping strategies for aerial support. The room buzzed with a fragile unity, born from the ceremony's afterglow and the shared vision of survival. But as Marcus zoomed in on a cluster of rifts near Netheria's border, a faint anomaly caught his eye, a subtle fluctuation in the dark energy readings, like a whisper amid a storm. He frowned, cross-referencing it with Vira's psychic scans. "This doesn't match the patterns. It's almost like a signal, embedded in the entropy waves." Vira's violet eyes narrowed, her mind linking deeper with his to probe the data. A signal. The Devourer and its kin are primal forces' mindless hunger. They don't communicate, they consume. Yet as their thoughts intertwined, she felt it too, a rhythmic pulse, not random chaos, but structured, almost intelligent. The intimacy of their bond allowed her to sense nuances she might have missed alone, his analytical precision sharpening her intuitive leaps. Together, they isolated the anomaly, amplifying it through the command center's systems. The room fell quiet as the signal resolved into a holographic projection, not a void entity, but a fragmented message, visual and auditory, flickering like an old Earth transmission. It depicted ancient Psion seers, their forms ethereal and robed, standing before a colossal gateway, a rift not of destruction, but creation. Words echoed in a melodic tongue, translated by the system: "The hunger is not the enemy, it is the guardian. Beware the true devourers, the ones who wear faces of light." Gasps rippled through the council. Vira stepped back, her pale skin draining of color, her pointed ears flattening in shock. This can't be. Our oracles bound the Devourer as a threat, not a protector." The powerful twist hit like a supernova. What if the entity they'd contained wasn't the villain, but a sentinel against something worse? Marcus's mind raced, piecing together the puzzle: the prophecies' vagueness, the sudden awakening, the swarm's targeted approach toward Psion. "Hold on," he said, his voice cutting through the murmurs, surprise etching his features as he delved deeper. The signal's origin traced back not to the void, but to Psion's own ancient archives, buried layers of history suppressed by generations of rulers. "This message, it's from your ancestors. They engineered the Devourer as a weapon, a psychic construct to guard against invaders from another dimension. The greater darkness isn't the swarm, it's what's chasing them." The revelation surged through their link, a surprise that took even Vira's psychic foresight off guard. She clutched the table's edge, her curvaceous form trembling slightly as memories flooded in, not hers, but ancestral echoes unlocked by the signal. Visions of a long-forgotten war, gleaming ships from a realm called the Luminar Veil, beings of pure energy who masqueraded as benevolent guides, only to siphon life forces from entire worlds. The Devourer had been created to repel them, a devourer of devourers, but over eons, its purpose twisted in folklore into a monster. Counselors erupted in debate, the reptilian ambassador slamming his tail. "If this is true, we've imprisoned our own shield. Releasing it could doom us or save us." Drama intensified as accusations flew. Had Vira's lineage hidden this truth to maintain power? Her eyes met Marcus's. a whirlwind of emotions passing between them: betrayal, doubt, but also a deepening trust. This twist reframed everything. Their union wasn't just to fight the swarm, but to unravel a cosmic deception. Marcus, ever the human anchor, pulled her aside amid the chaos, his hands on her shoulders grounding her. "Hey, breathe. If this is real, we adapt. That's what humans do, turn surprises into strategies." But inside, his heart pounded with the thrill of discovery. This wasn't mere survival anymore, but a rewrite of galactic history. Vira nodded, leaning into him, her body seeking the warmth that steadied her psychic storm. "The prophecy mentioned an unbound mind, yours to reveal hidden truths." "I thought it was about containment, but it's about liberation." They returned to the holo table, Marcus initiating a deeper archive dive while Vira channeled her essence to authenticate the signal. As layers peeled back, more surprises unfolded. The Luminar beings had infiltrated alliances, posing as advisors in worlds like Zerathia and Lunara. The feathered envoy shifted uncomfortably, its plumage ruffling had it been compromised. The twist deepened. Scans revealed subtle energy signatures in several delegates, faint but present, like sleeper agents waiting to activate. Panic edged the room, but Marcus's quick thinking shone through. "We can't trust visuals alone. Vira, use our bond scan for anomalies." Their merged power swept the chamber, a gentle psychic wave that exposed the infiltrators. 3 delegates glowed with unnatural light: the blob from Velquar, a scaled advisor, and shockingly, one of Vira's own attendants. The attendant's eyes widened in feigned innocence, but the link pierced the facade: a Luminar entity, embedded for decades, manipulating events to awaken and destroy the Devourer. The powerful twist culminated in a tense standoff. The infiltrator lunged, its form shifting from elfin grace to a swirling mass of energy, lashing out with tendrils of light that burned like false suns. Guards reacted, but it was Marcus who surprised everyone, including himself, by grabbing a nearby crystal amplifier, intuitively syncing it to their bond. "Not on my watch," he growled, channeling a burst that disrupted the entity's cohesion. Vira amplified it, her voice a command: "Reveal yourself." The being coalesced into its true form, a humanoid of blinding radiance, its face a mask of serene deception. "Fools," it hissed, voice echoing like harmonious chimes turned sinister. "The hunger you fear is your only defense against us. We are the Enlighteners, come to harvest the unworthy." Vira's shock turned to fury, her curvaceous form radiating power as she confronted it. "You twisted our history, turned guardian into monster. Why?" The entity laughed, a sound like shattering glass. "To claim Psion's psychic core, fuel for our ascension. Your union accelerated the awakening, we thank you." But in a final surprise, Marcus realized the twist's full scope: the prophecy wasn't Psion-born. Hacking deeper with Earth algorithms, he uncovered that the oracles had been influenced by a human explorer centuries ago, an unsung ancestor who'd visited Psion incognito, planting seeds of the foretelling to prepare for this very moment. Humanity wasn't the outsider, they were the architects of salvation, their unbound minds the key to exposing the Luminar ploy. The room held its breath as Marcus shared the find. Vira's eyes widened in astonishment, pulling him into an embrace amid the chaos. Your people, you've been part of this all along." The infiltrator snarled, attempting escape, but their bond sealed it in a containment field, its light dimming. With the truth unveiled, strategies shifted dramatically. Releasing the Devourer wasn't destruction, it was alliance. Counselors, now purged of spies, rallied with renewed vigor. The swarm approaching? Not invaders, but refugees fleeing the Luminar, drawn to Psion as a beacon. Marcus and Vira stood at the forefront, their intimacy evolving into a partnership of equals. The twist had surprised them all, reshaping enemies into allies, lies into truths. As they prepared to commune with the contained Devourer, Vira whispered, "Whatever comes, our bond is the surprise they never saw coming." The galaxy teetered on revelation's edge, humanity's hidden legacy emerging to claim its place among the stars. The galaxy teetered on revelation's edge, humanity's hidden legacy emerging to claim its place among the stars, but in the command center's charged atmosphere, that emergence felt less like a triumphant dawn and more like a chaotic scramble through uncharted asteroid fields. Marcus stood there, still processing the ancestral link: his distant relative, a rogue explorer who'd seeded the prophecy like a cosmic prankster, while Vira's counselors buzzed around them, recalibrating defenses with frantic urgency. The contained Luminar infiltrator writhed in its field, its radiant form dimming to a sullen glow, but its mocking chimes lingered in the air like an unwelcome echo. "You think you've won?" It taunted, even as guards reinforced the containment. "The veil opens wider with every truth you uncover." Vira's hand tightened on Marcus's arm, her violet eyes flashing with a storm of emotions: betrayal from her own history's lies, awe at humanity's unsuspected role, and a deepening affection that made the drama feel personal, intimate amid the galactic stakes. "We need to commune with the Devourer now," she declared, her voice cutting through the din like a laser through fog. "If it's our guardian, releasing it could turn the tide. But the ritual, it's not without risks." She glanced at him, a hint of awkward hesitation in her posture, her curvaceous form shifting as if the weight of royal protocol suddenly felt too heavy. Marcus raised an eyebrow, sensing the undercurrent. "Risks? Like psychic backlash or something? Or are we talking about another ceremony, where I have to recite ancient vows without a cheat sheet?" He tried to inject a bit of humor, but his tone carried the edge of genuine unease. After all, he'd gone from lab geek to prophesied savior in what felt like a whirlwind weekend, and now they were about to chat with a void entity that ate thoughts for breakfast. She managed a small smile, her pointed ears twitching in that endearing way that always softened the tension between them. "A bit of both, actually. The communion requires a conduit, someone unbound, like you, to bridge the gap. But it involves sinking our bond deeper in front of the council. Publicly." The awkwardness hung there like a malfunctioning gravity boot, sticking them in place. Public again. After the ceremony's near disaster and their private merging, the idea of bearing their connection for scrutiny felt like inviting the whole galaxy to a very personal therapy session. Counselors turned, their expressions a mix of expectation and impatience. The reptilian ambassador from Zerathia crossed his arms, scales clicking. "A human as conduit. This grows more absurd by the moment. What if he bungles it and feeds us all to the Guardian?" Marcus felt heat rise in his cheeks, the drama heightening as all eyes fixed on him. "Hey, I've got this. I mean, I jury-rigged a containment loop with a data pad earlier. How hard can mind melding with a cosmic janitor be?" His attempt at humor landed with mixed results. Vira chuckled softly, but the feathered envoy tilted its head, chirping what might have been confusion or amusement. Awkward silence followed, broken only by the infiltrator's faint, derisive hum from its prison. Vira pulled him toward the vault access, whispering as they moved, "Ignore them. Your humanity is our edge, unpredictable, resilient, but the sink it might reveal more visions, personal ones." Her gaze flicked away, a rare blush tinting her pale skin. "Personal, as in, their intimate moments flashing across the council's psychic feed." Marcus's mind raced to embarrassing scenarios. What if it broadcasted his clumsy first kiss back in the lab, or worse, his inner monologue about her alluring form during the ritual? "Oh great," he muttered, half laughing. "Nothing says heroic savior like accidentally sharing my bad pickup lines with alien dignitaries." She squeezed his hand, her laughter bubbling up despite the stakes. "Your lines aren't that bad. Besides, it could be mutual. Imagine the council seeing my royal daydreams about a certain Earth scientist." The teasing lightened the mood, but the drama pressed on as they descended into the vaults, the air growing thicker, charged with residual entropy. Guards flanked them, weapons humming, while scouts reported more rifts opening. Luminar forces massing, their enlightened fleets disguised as aid convoys approaching Psion's orbit. In the chamber, the reinforced crystal pulsed ominously, the Devourer's essence swirling within like a contained storm. Vira's attendants prepared the ritual circle, etching glowing runes that hummed in harmony with the palace's core. Marcus stepped into the center with her, awkwardness peaking as the council linked in via psychic relays, dozens of minds brushing theirs like an overeager crowd at a concert. "This feels like being on a blind date with an audience," he quipped under his breath, earning a stifled giggle from Vira, but her expression turned serious as she placed her hands on the crystal, guiding his to join hers. "Focus on our bond," she instructed, her voice a soothing anchor. As their essences merged deeper, the drama intensified. Visions flooded in, not just ancestral secrets, but raw emotions: Vira's hidden fears of ruling alone, Marcus's doubts about belonging in this vast universe. The council murmured in surprise, the reptilian grumbling about emotional overflow, but then the twist deepened. The Devourer responded, its presence unfolding like a vast, ancient intelligence, not mindless hunger, but a weary sentinel, its voice a deep resonance in their minds, freed at last but the veil's deceivers approach. I guard, but I weary. Lend me your union's fire. The awkward situation escalated when the sync revealed unintended glimpses, a flash of their private chamber moments, tastefully veiled but enough to make Marcus's face burn. Whoops, he thought, the link broadcasting his embarrassment. Vira's amusement rippled through, lightening the heaviness. At least it proves our bond's authenticity, she projected back, a hint of humor in her mental tone. The council shifted uncomfortably, one elder clearing her throat psychically, the equivalent of an awkward cough, but it humanized the moment, turning potential scandal into a relatable bridge between species. Drama heightened as the Devourer drew on their energy, the crystal cracking open with controlled precision. Tendrils of shadow emerged, not attacking, but extending like curious limbs, tasting the air. Alarms blared, Luminar ships decloaking in orbit, their aid revealing weapons arrays. They're here, a scout projected, panic edging the link. The reptilian ambassador's tail thrashed. If this guardian fails, we're doomed, and your human's fire better not fizzle. Marcus, channeling his Jeffway grit, pushed back with humor-laced resolve. Fizzle, buddy, humans invented fireworks. Watch this. Through the bond, he visualized his dark energy loops, adapting them to empower the Devourer, turning its entropy into targeted strikes against the Luminar. Vira amplified it, her psychic grace weaving the patterns into reality. The entity surged, shadows coalescing into protective barriers around Psion, lashing out at the incoming fleet. But awkwardness struck again when a Luminar beam pierced a shield, rocking the chamber. Marcus stumbled, pulling Vira down with him in a tangle of limbs, her white hair spilling over his face, their bodies pressed close in the chaos. Not the romantic tumble I had in mind, he joked breathlessly, helping her up as guards fired back. She laughed, the sound cutting through the drama like a lifeline. Save the romance for after we win. The battle raged, drama at fever pitch, Luminar ships weaving deceptive patterns, broadcasting false pleas for peace while unleashing energy drains. The Devourer countered, devouring their illusions, but fatigue set in the entity, drawing heavily on their bond. Visions flashed of greater swarms beyond, refugees from devoured worlds seeking alliance. We must rally them, Vira urged, her form glowing with exertion. In a moment of heightened tension, an infiltrator remnant broke free nearby, lunging at Marcus. He dodged clumsily, grabbing a loose crystal shard and hurling it like a baseball, smashing the entity with surprising force. Home run, he exclaimed, the humor diffusing the scare as Vira blasted the remains. The council cheered psychically, the reptilian admitting, perhaps humans aren't entirely useless. As shields held and the first Luminar ships retreated, awkward alliances formed, the feathered envoy offering flock scouts, the blob from Velquar pledging gel-based reinforcements. But the drama wasn't over. A massive Luminar mothership loomed, its core pulsing with harvested essences. That's the heart of the Veil, the Devourer resonated. Strike it, and the deception crumbles. Vira turned to Marcus, eyes fierce yet tender. Together. He nodded, humor glinting always. Just promise no more public mind shares until we get a privacy filter. Their laughter echoed as they prepared the final push, the galaxy's fate hanging on their unlikely union. Yet as energy built, a new awkward ripple hit the bond, revealed Vira's unspoken worry, could a human truly commit to a Psion life? Marcus projected reassurance, adding a quip, hey, I've adapted to zero-G toilets, eternity with you, piece of cake. It strengthened them, turning vulnerability into power. The mothership fired, shaking Psion to its core, but the Devourer, empowered, surged forth, a shadow tide engulfing the threat. Explosions lit the skies, drama crescendoing in a symphony of light and void. Refugees arrived, their ships bolstering the defense, turning the tide. In the vault, Marcus and Vira collapsed against each other, exhausted but victorious for now. The council applauded, awkward bows mixing with genuine respect. You've rewritten our stars, the elder said. But whispers of more Luminar realms lingered, the drama promising endless adventures. Marcus kissed Vira's forehead, humor returning. So, about that honeymoon void-free, please? She smiled, pulling him close. Deal. But first, let's save the galaxy again. She smiled, pulling him close in that vaulted chamber where shadows and light still danced from the Devourer's unleashed power, her words deal. But first, Let's save the galaxy again, hanging between them like a promise sealed in starfire. Marcus felt the warmth of her body against his, a grounding force amid the whirlwind of battle reports flooding the psychic links. The mothership's core fracturing under the Guardian's assault, Luminar fleets scattering like embers from a dying blaze. The Devourer's resonance thrummed through them both, a deep, ancient gratitude echoing in their minds as it absorbed the invader's deceptive energies, transforming lies into fuel for its protective void. Vira's white hair brushed his cheek, her pointed ears sensitive to the subtle vibrations of victory unfolding above, and in that intimate press, the exhaustion of the fight melted into something hopeful, a shared breath that spoke of futures beyond the chaos. As the final Luminar vessel imploded in a silent burst of light visible through the holographic feeds that painted the chamber walls with cosmic fireworks. The council erupted in a wave of relief and acclaim. The reptilian ambassador from Zerathia thumped his tail in approval, his earlier skepticism giving way to a gruff nod. Human, you fight like a storm, unpredictable, relentless. Perhaps your kind deserves a seat at the stellar table. The feathered envoy chirped a melody of alliance, while the blob from Velquar bubbled effusively, its form rippling in what Marcus assumed was joy. Even the Devourer, its task complete for now, retracted its shadows back into the crystal's embrace, leaving a lingering sense of watchful peace, as if whispering that it would stand ready for the next veil that dared to tear. But amid the celebrations, Vira turned to Marcus, her violet eyes holding a depth that transcended the triumph. "It's over for this chapter, at least," she said softly, her curvaceous form leaning into him with a grace that made the room's grandeur fade away. The awkward echoes of their public bonds and shared visions lingered in the air, but now they felt like badges of honor, quirks that had woven them tighter. Marcus chuckled, wrapping an arm around her waist, feeling the elegant fabric of her suit shift under his touch. "Over, with my luck, this is just the intermission. But hey, if saving galaxies comes with perks like you, sign me up for the sequel." She laughed, a sound like chimes in a gentle breeze, pulling him away from the throng toward a quieter alcove, overlooking Psion's twin moons, their silvery glow bathing the palace in ethereal light. The drama of the day had etched lines of weariness on both their faces, but it also kindled a spark of something enduring, a bond forged not just in prophecy, but in the raw, unfiltered moments of doubt, desire, and defiance. "You humans," Vira murmured, tracing a finger along his jaw, her pale skin contrasting with his warmer tones in a way that still sent a thrill through him. "You turn the universe's grand designs into personal adventures. I claimed you that first day because the stars whispered it, but now I choose you because you've shown me what true strength looks like. Not power over minds, but the will to adapt, to laugh in the face of oblivion." Marcus pulled her closer, their lips meeting in a kiss that carried the weight of worlds saved and futures claimed. It was tender at first, a reflection of the peace settling over Psion, but deepened with the memory of their intimate mergers, the way her body had yielded and commanded, her pointed ears quivering under his caresses, her luminous form a canvas for shared ecstasy. The galaxy's threats might linger in distant realms, more luminar veils waiting to be pierced, but in this moment, they were simply Marcus and Vira, a human scientist and an alien princess whose union had rewritten the stars. As they broke apart, breathless and smiling, attendants approached with reports of refugee fleets docking worlds, once devoured now seeking haven under Psion's shield. The Devourer had become an ally, its hunger redirected toward true threats, and alliances bloomed like nebulae in the void. Marcus watched Vira coordinate with effortless authority, her white hair cascading as she issued commands, her sensual silhouette a beacon of hope. He marveled at how far he'd come from a lone researcher, tinkering with dark energy, to the heart of an interstellar legend. Humanity's grit, that unyielding fuck yeah spirit, had proven itself not just in battles, but in bridging hearts across the cosmos. Days blurred into a tapestry of reconstruction, Psion's vaults reinforced with hybrid tech Earth algorithms fused with psychic crystals, while delegates forged pacts that spanned systems. Marcus found himself at Vira's side through it all, navigating awkward diplomatic dinners where he fumbled alien etiquette, but won over skeptics with his humor. "Try the neural nectar," he'd quipped to a dubious envoy, "it's like coffee, but it makes you see equations in your dreams." Vira would stifle laughs, her hand under the table finding his, a secret touch that promised private escapes amid the duties. One evening, as Psion's moons aligned in a rare conjunction symbolizing renewal, they retreated to the royal gardens of verdant expanse, where bioluminescent flowers bloomed under starlit skies. Vira's gown flowed like liquid moonlight, hugging her curves in elegant invitation, her elf-like ears adorned with jewels that caught the glow. "This is where my ancestors sealed the original guardian," she said, leading him to a crystalline pavilion. "But tonight, it's ours to celebrate what we've built." Marcus drew her into his arms, the air alive with the scent of exotic blooms and the distant hum of a healing world. Their embrace ignited familiar fires, bodies entwining with a passion honed by trials survived. He explored her with reverence, hands gliding over her pale skin, eliciting soft sighs as he kissed the sensitive tips of her ears, her form arching in response. Vira's touches were equally bold, her psychic link sharing waves of pleasure that amplified every sensation, the warmth of his humanity melting her cool grace into a shared blaze. They moved together under the moons, a dance of unity that echoed their first merging, but now carried the depth of true partnership, peaks of ecstasy building to a crescendo that left them tangled in silken sheets, hearts beating as one. In the afterglow, Vira nestled against him, her head on his chest. The prophecy spoke of a husband from the stars, but it never mentioned love. "That's our addition, humanity's gift to the cosmos." Marcus smiled, stroking her white hair. "And Psion's gift to me. Who knew getting claimed in a crowd would lead to this?" As peace settled over the galaxy, whispers of new adventures stirred distant signals from unexplored vales, calls for heroes to venture forth. But for now, Marcus and Vira stood as beacons, their story a legend whispered across worlds, how a bold princess's claim sparked a union that saved the stars, proving that in the vastness of space, humanity's spirit, fierce, adaptable, and unyieldingly alive, could conquer even the deepest voids. Years later, as their children, hybrids of human ingenuity and Psion insight, played under those same moons, Marcus would look at Vira and marvel at the life they'd forged. "That's my wife," he'd think with a grin, echoing her first words. And she knew it all along. The galaxy, forever changed, spun on, a testament to the power of an unexpected love that turned prophecy into destiny.